All right, I'm Serena Travis, and I'm here representing the podcast that I run here in Scott Valley, Good Morning Scott Valley, and I have here Fred Kelly Grant. Fred, how should I refer to you? Mr. Grant?
Fred.
Fred,
Fred.
Okay, Fred, that's easy.
Listen, I've reached the 3/4 of a century mark, so my first name's good enough.
Okay, super. Well, what is your expertise and what exactly brings you to Scott Valley?
Well, I'm a longtime criminal lawyer who 20 years ago got involved with private property rights of ranchers and farmers because I helped a friend of mine save himself and 179 other ranchers in a desert land livestock grazing county in southwestern Idaho. And from that time on, I've helped private property owners who have had trouble with the federal agencies trying to take their water rights, trying to restrict their water rights, and their grazing rights and their logging rights and so on. I've been, for 20 years, legal representative for private property owners. And my specialty is taking on federal and state agencies.
Okay.
County governments when they tend to be like the feds.
Okay, so in essence, we can kind of glean from all of that because of those issues here in Scott Valley, you've been, in essence, brought here because of these issues that we're facing here.
That's right. I represent the foundation Trademark America. It's a foundation that we set up 4 or 5 months ago. One of my clients wanted to establish a foundation. It's a nonprofit, and what it allows us to do is, instead of defending, as I've done for 20 years, I wait until some client is in trouble with the agency and then I defend them. And now we're taking on progressive issues where we're trying to restore the cultural and traditional economy of some of the western counties. I was asked to come to Siskiyou County a couple of months ago, and my board of directors approved that if we can find the funding for it, that we will represent the landowners in this county against the federal and state intrusions on their rights.
So it sounds like, in part, you've created more of a proactive approach to this.
That's right.
Which is really going to be beneficial in the long haul.
That's right. Instead of just defending an individual, what we're trying to do is, on a landscape basis, return the federal agencies to where they should have been, and that is managing the land, not restricting other people in their use. And if they'd managed the land correctly, we would have plenty of water out of the forests. We would have plenty of water for fish. We wouldn't be in the position we're in. So that's our objective from here on out, is to take on those more challenging, massive projects.
I think it's helpful for us to realize that this is not simply a local issue. This is an issue that's being dealt with elsewhere as well. So
yes.
That just to be aware of that, I think is helpful for our area.
Yeah. Well, and it is. It's throughout the West. Well, in fact, it's through all 50 states. But in the West, we have particular problems because we have so much federal land. Over 30% of all of the western states is owned by the federal government. And so it allows them to be more restrictive than they are in the other 39 states. But it is a problem everywhere. Yesterday, for example, while I was here meeting with people, I got calls from 3 other states, from the governor of one, asking that we come and take on a project against the Forest Service for them. So people are really, the government's in the position where they're getting more and more restrictive, and we're getting to the point where people are going to start losing their water. And when that happens, it's not just farmers and ranchers, but everybody who loses. Townspeople, businesses in the cities and towns. When water rights start getting restricted, it affects everyone in an entire community.
Yeah, I think that's helpful because I think a lot of my listeners, in fact, are maybe more towards the city folk versus the country folk. I mean, if you could separate those in Scott Valley.
Right.
But could you describe what that means as far as restricting water rights? How does
Sure.
that affect somebody that's in a city versus somebody who's running a ranch?
One of the things that happens with water flows and with the hydrology or water science of a system in a community is that when you restrict the usage in one area, God made this nature. God created these water surfaces and these water flows and water systems. And when man starts restricting them in one place and starts changing the use in one place, God's system gets thrown aside. And so it affects the cities and counties as well. For example, if the dams were taken out, if they were destroyed, and that's what it is, destruction of the dams, there are so many heavy metals behind those dams in the silt that every fish in the river would be killed. That's been proven in the Rogue River just within the last few months. They took out 2 dams, the heavy metals, chromium in particular, and I know that's something that I don't even know what it's used for. But it not only killed the fish, but it raised the toxic levels of the water that the people in the community use 3 times the level that the federal government says is safe.
Incredible.
So when the dams get taken out, for example, irrigation water goes, flood control goes. When a flood comes, as in 1964, it doesn't flood just the farms and ranches, it floods everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's, for example, the water that's used for irrigation, as the federal government makes restrictions on the use of water, they go so far and then they go further. For example, the Clean Water Restoration Act that was in Congress last year would have controlled every bit of water in the United States and every piece of land that was near water. That was the language of the bill, which would have meant that the Corps of Engineers, by restricting agricultural water, would also have restricted people in town from irrigating their lawns. We don't live, no man's an island anymore. And when you start messing with water systems, you're affecting everybody. Not only that, but from a business standpoint, if a farmer goes out of business, it affects the business people in town. We have studies that show that every dollar that's lost from agricultural sales has from an 8 to a 14 time magnification in the loss of business.
That's huge.
It is. It's very huge. For example, right now I'm representing 4 counties and in Utah and 1 in Arizona who are trying to fight the federal government. The federal government's trying to close down a uranium mine. It would cost 4,000 jobs. Now, not all those jobs are in the mines, but they work in the companies in the towns that rely on the income from the mines. The massive damage would be $29 billion to those 5 counties because you don't affect the economy of any one area of our society without affecting businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see the logic in that. So how can a person in our area continue to stay educated about this, and what can an average person do about what's going on?
Well, one of the things that I bring and our foundation brings is helping local governments use a process called coordination. It's established by the Congress, and it directs every federal agency, and therefore every state agency that use federal money, to coordinate with local government. It means that they have to deal with local government on an equal basis in order to reach consistency between the federal policy and local. So every person can attend their local government meetings and encourage their local officials to make use of this tool. They also can go on our website, which is, I don't use it very often, Trademark America, www.trademarkamerica.org. Trademark America is the thing to remember. And we have loads of information on there about how individuals can reach other individuals and gain help and give assistance, because this is an all-out battle for everybody to protect water rights and property rights.
Yeah, and the worst case scenario is that all water then gets controlled by the government.
By the government, that's exactly right.
And that's, nobody would want to have that. It's something that has always been inherent, a part of the property owner's rights.
You folks in this county, your traditions go way back to the 49ers, the literal 49ers, and from that time to this, water has been the lifeblood of this county. You've lost logging, you've lost all kinds of income and jobs, and one of the reasons for the loss is government control of the forests. Now, if they control the water on top of controlling the forest, they have your lifeblood. It's just that simple.
Wow, so it's really a big battle because water is a basic. It's a
It is.
basic of life and definitely of economy in essence.
It
So
is.
I appreciate the knowledge that you've given us today, and I really hope that that my listeners and that other people who may see this will be at least, if not having a better idea of what's going on, have a better idea about what to do.
And where to find out, because we'll be glad to answer any question if they contact us at the website. And you have a lot of people right in the community now. Your sheriff in Siskiyou County knows this process inside and out. And I'm sure that if people contact him, he'll be glad to tell them exactly what he's doing to protect them and how this process works.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.